Hello, guys. Happy Sunday. I just want to check in with my froggies and make sure that everybody was all right. Nobody has any complaints. I have my lights on back there. I'm kind of excited. It's nighttime. I hardly ever record at nighttime, but um, I'm doing it today. But it's Sunday. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I hope everybody had a great church time. I have a new subscriber. I'm really excited about him. I had him on my sites for his name was Jacob, or is Jacob. Um, he's a young kid. He's got to be no more than 20, but he wants to be a preacher, and he caught my eye one time. And the reason I'm mentioning this is, well, we'll get into it. But anyway, okay. So, I was looking for Bible studies to do here to follow through on YouTube because I do not go to a traditional church. Now, this guy can be funny. He's extremely funny. I love to get him tickled, especially when he's on a live chat and then he catches all my comments. It's so funny. I just love to get him tickled. I love his smile. He's just a great person, and I love that the community that he's with. They must all go to church together because they seem to know all each other in a personal way. So I just happened to, like I said, be cruising for a good fellowship area and on a Sunday or something, and I happened to bump into his channel, and there he was. So I listened to him, and then he ended up doing Bible trivia every night, every Friday night at 7, I do believe. So, yeah, I'm excited that he has subscribed to our channel. I don't know how many videos he has watched, if any, but I mean, he has subscribed, so I'm good with that. But no, I do not go to a traditional church, and I will explain why. I do study the Bible. I am constantly reading the Bible, constantly reading up, figuring out ways how to put everything in order the way, for the Bible to realize what is being said that directs toward today or human behavior or the right thing to do, anything of that nature. I'm constantly trying to figure it out. And I think that will be a lifelong thing. I don't know. I do not go to church. I used to go to a church, me and my family. Even my husband, I got him to get up and go to church a couple of times. We went to this wonderful church, and I love the way that the pastor, he's a very popular pastor in our area. I used to love the way he preached the Bible until I got to, there were a couple of red flags that come up on my radar, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe not. So we quit going. But one of them was we were in church. We had gone a couple of times. There were a couple of Sundays we missed, but all of a sudden we're in church, and he did not have this one necessity, or his item of necessity was very old. So he would get on stage. He, the pastor, would get on stage, and then he would leave the stage, and a junior pastor would come up, and then have him direct the audience to put forth money to buy this said necessity. And it just, to me, that was it's not what church is about. I realized that you're going to get tithes, and you're going to have people, give their money as they see fit. I get this. I get that. Every church does it or whatever, but you ask a congregation to help a pastor by his necessity is just, it kind of hit me wrong. It just so hit me wrong. I can't believe they were brave enough to do that, to pull that off. But they did. It was and then, like I said, the pastor himself was on stage, and then he left. Who's to say he's not still in the building? Who's to say that he doesn't know? So I feel like he put them up to the staff. Doing it is supposed to be for his birthday, but I really felt put upon with that. Again, I love to hear him preach. It just, when this happened, I kind of started feeling a sort of way. And then the other two things, which I'm about to explain, happened. So, okay, there was that. That was red flag number one. Red flag number two. They had a big church. I mean, he has a stage. He's risen up above everybody else. They have a stage. They have the musical group up there. They have everything up there that they need. And then there's an auditorium type. It's going around the stage, kind of an auditorium type church vessel or whatever. And that's all great and good. It's just kind of a big, big church. And then you look around and they were, even when we were going, they were still building up the school, building up this, I mean, it was just beginning to be, and you would have to like have a scooter just to go from one place of the church to the other. I mean, it was just exercise to get from one place of the church to the other. So I felt like it was getting too big. And in the Bible, Jesus talks about his churches being of certain elements, and I just felt like it was just being way, way too big for him to be a small town preacher. It was a little bitty church, and then it ended up, more and more people come to hear him church because, like I said, he was an awesome, awesome preacher. But that was kind of red flag number two. The church was getting way too big for me, for my comfort. I just didn't feel spiritually. I did not feel spiritually comforted in such a big church. There was a problem. But like I said, this took over time. It did not happen in one day. It was just, I love to hear him preach. He did good. Da, da, da. And then, your eyes open in sort of all these red flags. Okay. There was a third time. We go to church, and me and my husband are sitting together. And I think our one daughter is sitting with me. And then our 13, 14-year-old daughter goes and sits with one of her friends that she goes to school with. Now, this friend of hers is an alternative lifestyle type person. She is I'm not going there. That's not for me to say, but I'll just say alternative lifestyle. So, the preacher gets on stage and starts preaching, but they're up in the front. We're over off to the side and in the back. They're over in the front, kind of where the preacher can see them from his stage, and he can stand over them and be directly in their sight, and they're directly in his sight. So as he's preaching, he points to the girl in question, the friend, not my daughter, but my daughter sitting beside this child. A 14-year-old child. Okay, and he starts talking about how her alternative lifestyle is wrong, and how she's going to hell, and how it's a sin, and just went all off on her about this alternative lifestyle. And you just don't talk to people like that. I have to say such and such alternative lifestyle is a sin. Okay, that's a fact. It's in the Bible. But who are you as a human being to sit there and tell someone else that? I'm not saying that you sin equally to that person. You sin differently. But nobody's pointing at you on a Sunday afternoon in a full-fledged auditorium-like church and pointing out your sins or telling you you're going to hell. I don't want a human being to tell me I'm going to hell. I want you to teach me what that Bible says. Telling me I'm going to hell is meaning that you're stepping into Jesus' shoes or in God's shoes, and you're telling me I'm going to hell. No, that's no. So we walked after this third instance. We totally walked away from that congregation. We couldn't do it. We were not thrilled with what we were seeing. After, like I said, I loved to hear him preach. I loved going to church. I loved being part of a fellowship. I loved it. I mean, with everything I had. But those three instances just turned me away from that congregation. I couldn't do it anymore. I think when you are ordained to be a pastor, you can. I have a friend. I have a best friend that lives. I'm in Georgia, and he lives like on the Mississippi side of Alabama, kind of Mobile-ish. but he's my best friend. I go to him for everything. He comes to me for everything. But he's never judgmental. He never judges me. He can tell me if what I'm doing is wrong, and he's like, this is what he said, this can come out of the Bible. Let me teach you the ways of why this is wrong through the Bible, not from what I said as a human being. And then you weigh out all your options. I think you need to think this through. I think you need to pray about it. I think that's how a pastor should be. He should not tell me I'm going to hell. I don't care what you've done in your life. You could kill somebody. And to tell them they're going to hell is just, you can tell them they're on death row because that's true. But it's not my job to tell you you're going to hell. It's not anybody's job to tell me I'm going to hell. I'm not going to step in God's shoes and do that for him, because that's not, I don't know. I guess that's just how I feel. That's why I don't go to a human church. I will get my Bible understanding through studying the Bible my own way, or going through someone on YouTube to help me better understand. But if you're going to sit there and judge me for my personal choices and tell me I'm going to hell, then no, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go and visit you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit there and tithe with you and give you money to help you buy your necessities. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not. To a 14-year-old child, no less. A 14-year-old child. This man had to be in his 40s, 50s, and he's sitting there pointing directly. And the only reason I knew was because my daughter was sitting right beside her, and she felt she had the embarrassment for her to, her and her family just sit there, and the guy's pointing at her, telling her how alternative lifestyles leading her to hell. All right. Let's find another way to preach, because that's not how we do it. That is not how we do it. I don't care what you do. Like I said, if you murder somebody, I'm still not going to tell you you're going to hell, because for all I know, you might find the fault in what you have done and ask God for his forgiveness. And before anything happens to you, I'm not going to tell you you're going to hell. I'm not going to step in God's shoes. I'm not going to listen to anybody who's going to step in God's shoes, because those are big, big, big shoes to fill. It's just not my problem. So, and this comes from a girl. When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, my grandma decided that she was going to, ask Jesus to save her and that kind of thing. She was a drinker, she was a smoker, but she quit all that like cold turkey. And she was real good about, she would not, she was broke. She was as broke as anybody, any of us, really. And then she would only buy her a drink if she made sure that I didn't want anything. Like if I wanted a toy, she'd make sure she get that toy before she spent her money on her alcohol or cigarettes, whatever. She always made sure I got what I wanted first. So she was a good grandma in that way. But she gave it all up, and she was like a very religious woman. But we went to a church where the pastor, the real pastor, the main pastor, was gonna move. He decided that it was time for him to move his family. So he got up and he left, and he didn't leave any plans for the church when he left. He just got up and left. So there were two pastors, two understudy pastors, I guess. So when he left, that could have taken over. And I guess he just felt like, you're mature enough people, you can pray to God and to guide you, and you decide amongst yourself who's going to preach what where, who's going to do what. So when you're 10 years old and you're watching two grown men fight physically in a church about who's going to preach that Sunday morning, it's time for you to go. And that's what my grandma did. She took us out of the church, and the church didn't last much longer after that. But yeah, that happened. So you kind of know when you're in a good church and when you're not in a good church. I think if you're a big, big, big church, you keep building and building and building on to the church. Renovating it's one thing, but keep building on and making it bigger and bigger, where you feel like you have to have a scooter to be on the compound. I mean, it's too big of a church. It really is. It, but yet, you're going to ask the congregation to buy you a necessity. Okay. Okay. I don't know. I just thought that was, something very important for you to know about me that I will study here at home. I even have new books that I bought recently because I don't want to go to a real church. I don't want to be in a congregation like that. I don't want to be where someone is fighting for the preacher responsibility. I don't want it where somebody's telling me I'm going to hell, somebody's telling me I'm wrong. Well, they're wrong too. It's not like they woke up this morning and decided they weren't human. I don't know. I don't want to go to a big church that it feels like I'm in a palace. I don't know. Just a thought. Just a thought. Just so you know that I do not go to a regular church. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Let me know in the comments. Please like, subscribe. I'm Cassie. This is what I call Cassie's Corner, and this is my just a little bitty corner of YouTube, so that I can talk about depression and things that are things that aggravate me in the world. I guess I talk about traffic. I talk about my life story. I talk about my family. I talk about. I really cling on the depression fact, ways to help you feel better in your depression, maybe help make your brain think something different when you think you're sad or when you're overwhelmed with sadness. I always say that two positives negate one negative. So if something's wrong, think of two different things that you could learn from it or bring out of it. It doesn't matter. I think that is the best way. It's just a clear habit that we can train our brain to be the most positive of all. My husband even said, I had a disagreement with my daughter, and she said that I was sad all the time. And I was like, wait, I hadn't been sad in a long time. And I was telling my husband about the situation, about the conversation. And he was like, no, you hadn't been sad in a long, long time. Whereas, every day, yes, I was sad. I was ill. I was mad. I was angry. I wanted to cry. And then it just hasn't been that way in a long, long time. So for her to say that in our recent argument was kind of like, where have you been? But we don't want to go there. How's everybody doing? How did your weekend go? Our weather is kind of like 80 something today, 70 something. It was really, really warm. Really warm. I thought fall was here. This is not fall. The only thing that represents fall is that we do have some turning trees here. The trees turning colors and stuff. But they're few and far between. So I'm getting confused on the season again. It is like when in 2 weeks will be my granddaughter's birthday, and I'm like, where? When? Because it's in November, and then comes all of our birthdays. So we're like, when did this come? It's too warm. It's too warm. It's way too warm. Yes, so if there's anything you want to talk about, let me know. Hit the like, subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you'll know that when my videos hit. Leave me a comment, and your comments are for me to learn your opinion, learn how to get a feel of what you need in your life, what you need to talk about, what you or how you feel about my videos. If I suck, I need to know I suck. If I'm like, Cassie, you really should not feel that way about a preacher. You really should not feel those that are ordained by God to preach. But I can't help it. That is the human side of them. You can't preach on a bigger building. I don't know. It's like that's greedy. I don't know. I just feel like they're too human and the fact that it does not go past me unnoticed kind of makes me mad. I'm like, why can't I just ignore this stuff? Why can't I just ignore the fact that they're human and let this person preach to me? But it gets under my skin when they're talking about, oh, you're going to hell. It just does. It does. I don't mean for it to, but it does. But anyway, y'all have a nice evening. I hope to see you tomorrow. I don't know what tomorrow will bring for me. I have no plans. I never have plans. I just do. I just do. Y'all enjoy your evening. Find that big belly laugh. You are worthy of everything you desire, unless it's money, and money's not good for you. It gives everybody this false sense of power, and when the money leaves, what power do you have then? Again, you can't go around telling people they go to hell. I mean, what does that mean for you? If they, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just weird that way, I guess. I don't know. Help me see the light. All right, y'all have a good night, and I'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.